How could a man resist such sweet words? He thought, this is not easy. So under the woman's sinister gaze, he quickly came to the edge of the cliff, took a deep breath, and after that, he gathered his courage to jump down. So she quickly turned back and pulled out the key, but it accidentally slipped from her hand and fell into the river. Although the speedboat stopped, an even bigger problem soon appeared. She looked up and saw a waterfall not far downstream. Fortunately, she noticed it in time, but just as she was about to jump, she remembered that she hadn't learned how to swim. However, this wasn't. But the next second, she found a bear foraging by the river not far away. She was so close that this time, she was probably done for. She tried to act as if she hadn't seen it and quietly slip away. But how could that be possible? The brown bear would attack and quickly kicked off her shoes, then hurled them at the brown bear. The bear, thinking someone had kindly given it food, curiously examined the smelly things. Sarah seized the chance to run into the forest and didn't dare stop until night fell. Just then, a chill swept over her. To keep warm, she tried copying what she'd seen others do, drilling wood to make fire. It looked simple, but it was far from easy. After trying for a long time, she still failed. Things on TV were truly deceiving. She had no choice but to move around to keep the cold away. But while she was jumping, she suddenly felt something watching her. Without a second thought, she turned and ran for her life. In her panic, she tripped over a branch and fainted. When she woke up, she felt as if she had been sick for days, retching helplessly. Only then did she see clearly that the thing from last night was actually a white fox. She hadn't eaten all day and was starving. Searching through her bag, she couldn't find a single bite of food. Luckily, her phone still had some power, so she scrolled through the food pictures in her album to comfort herself. But the more she looked, the hungrier she became, until even makeup, like liquid foundation, started to look edible. It smelled sweet, but tasted almost inedible. The little fox seemed to understand something when it saw her like this. Following its lead, she soon arrived at a pool of water. After quenching, she sprayed a generous amount of perfume on them. At last, she sat down to enjoy what she considered a delicious mushroom feast. But after a while, she began to hallucinate. The poison in her stomach was starting to take effect. Fortunately, it wasn't very strong, and she woke up a few hours later. In the distance, she saw smoke and fireworks, a sign that someone must be there. She ran toward it to investigate, only to discover of cold water, leaving her frozen in place. To make matters worse, a large tree toppled onto her, pinning her lower body so she couldn't move out. It seemed as if the little fox had appeared just to teach Sarah how to escape. Inspired by it, she followed its lead and took action. Hard work paid off, and after relentless effort, she finally managed to free herself. This little fox truly was her lucky star. Before leaving, she also carried away a bit of fire, so at last she wouldn't have to sit in the dark. But it seemed fate didn't want her to enjoy peace for long. Just as she got the fire going, heavy rain began to shelter there for the night. As soon as she lay down, she heard a rustling sound nearby. Looking closely, she realized the cave was full of mice of all sizes. This was her greatest fear since childhood. Terrified, she fled the cave and cried out in frustration, complaining that all she had done was set up her husband and that his death had been his own stupidity. She awakened by the sound of an engine. She quickly got up and looked around, spotting a speedboat approaching from the distance. She shouted for help with all her strength, but no one on the boat seemed to hear her. As it drifted farther and farther away, she pulled off her skirt and waved it wildly. The boat soon disappeared from sight, only to return later. 2 days after that, she finally had a full meal. Sarah exclaimed with relief that the people on the boat were truly kind. But when the hunters realized she was alone, they immediately grew bold. One henchman, eager to take advantage, dragged her into the woods. When she refused to give in, he pulled out a dagger to threaten her. The moment the blade flashed, she froze in fear and stopped resisting. Just as he was about to act further, a sudden blow struck him from behind. At that critical moment, a woman appeared. It was the forest ranger of the area. After learning that Sarah had been targeted by a gang of criminals, the ranger quickly led her to safety. Meanwhile, the wounded henchman managed to escape and reported everything to his leader. Soon after, the two sides were locked in a death struggle. In the end, it was the forest ranger who outsmarted the criminals and successfully escaped. However, since they were caught, they would have been dead. Honestly, the ranger couldn't understand why there were such people in the world. She had tried her behaved and did not dare complain behind her back anymore. However, it was still very hard to walk out of the primeval forest. Thinking about this, they decided to go to the river and try their luck, hoping a boat would pass by and rescue them, but no one appeared and night fell before they saw anyone. Fortunately, the rangers' wilderness survival skills were excellent. After dinner, both of them had a full meal and began planning for the next day. After thinking carefully, they decided to go after the criminals. They quickly took action. Early in the morning, the ranger set traps. It's hard to understand what she was thinking. sinking. However, the ranger didn't waste time arguing. She quickly lit a bonfire, and the smoke caught the attention of the criminals. But when they arrived at the camp, it was empty. All the signs showed that they had left for a while, since their personal belongings were still there. It wasn't until one of the criminals was hurt that the leader realized they had been attacked. That's right, this was exact. Their plan was to make a fake move to the east while attacking from the west to seize the speedboat. The ranger was pushing the boat with all her strength, while Sarah sat on the boat like a fool, not knowing what to do until she reminded her. Then she slowly helped lift the boat. But just seeing her embarrassed look, she felt unsatisfied. It might have been better if she hadn't helped at all. Meanwhile, the criminals, who had reacted quickly, rushed back and saw the two of them taking the boat from a distance. At the critical moment, the ranger was gotten involved in someone else's fate. Soon, she was dragged into the woods. The criminals were about to attack when a sudden strong wind swept through the mountains. The forest ranger took advantage of the moment and pretended to be the incarnation of the mountain god, warning that anyone who kept doing evil would be punished by the mountain god.
She warned that anyone who kept doing evil would be punished by the mountain god. The who had done everything she could was finally rescued. Meanwhile, Sarah lay in the leaky boat, crying in despair as it slowly sank. Kindly like the video and subscribe for the next part.